removing the last vestiges of sexism from the Indian Act will cost the federal government more than $400 million a year, according to a new report from the Parliamentary Budget Officer. On Monday, the House of Commons passed a significantly amended version of the bill it drafted more than a year ago to address a Quebec court's demand that some of the sexism, which was deemed to be unconstitutional, be excised from the Act. Currently, in some instances status can be conferred by fathers on their children but not by their mothers. The new report from the Parliamentary Budget Officer, PBO, released Tuesday says the immediate effect of Bill S-3 will be to allow between 28,000 and 35,000 additional Canadians to register as status Indians, 90% of whom are expected to do so. Story continues below advertisement. The addition of those people is expected to cost the government $19 million in one-time administrative costs and $55 million a year for the benefits and tax breaks that are provided to status Indians. But the Senate pointed out, as it studied the bill over the past year, that the new legislation would not remove all of the sexism from the act that governs the relationship between the First Nations and the Government of Canada. Even when Bill S-3 is passed into law, people who were fathered by status men before September 4, 1951, can obtain status and pass it on to their offspring, but status women who married non-status men and had children before that date cannot. The senators insisted that the government change the wording of the bill to eliminate all of the inequality. After a standoff of several months, the government agreed to accept amendments proposed in the Red Chamber, but only after a consultation period with the First Nations that will last for an undetermined length of time. The government argues that it has promised to consult with Indigenous people on all matters that could affect them. When consultation ends, and the revisions demanded by the Senate take effect, the PBO says 670,000 additional people will be eligible to claim Indian status, but just 270,000 are expected to do so. The remainder, says the PBO, do not have the sort of connection with First Nations communities that would drive them to seek the designation. The increase is due to the fact that the Senate amendment would make almost everyone with First Nations ancestry and their children eligible for Indian status. The cost of the government benefits, largely medical and dental, and the tax exemptions that would be provided to the total number of new status Indians created by Bill S-3 would then rise to $407 million annually, says the PBO, and there would be an additional $71 million in one-time administrative costs. Throughout the debate around Bill S-3, frustration was expressed by senators and the government that there was no real understanding of how many new status Indians would be added to the rolls. Government estimates ranged between 800,000 and 2 million, although federal officials acknowledge those numbers were inflated. Story continues below advertisement.